Many countries have already adopted English in the secondary program as one of the languages of instruction, but maintaining their own local language. So, with that information, I was looking at the time at what are the competencies of teachers in the region? Are we far better than the rest? Do we have these standards? So in the study, first, I look at the documents, published papers, articles. Second, so we invited experts from different parts of the region to come to Simeo Inutech in Quezon City, Philippines, and to present their teaching standards, if they have any. And third is to do what we call as modified Delphi technique, sending survey and sending it to another expert and having another round of meeting to pinpoint the teaching standards in the region. So that book is available in Simeo Inutech. That's for free. You can look at it. And I will just share with you some highlights of the teaching competency standards. And let me say that with the advent of ASEAN integration, and of course, the regional developments on education for all, it is not fixed. We keep on moving to adjust the teaching competency standards. But at this time, these are the findings. There are 3 common teaching skills in Southeast Asian regions. First, all countries said that the most important skill or competency of teachers is pedagogical skills. It's in pedagogy. The others say it's pedagogy. Okay, whatever term we use in the region, we're referring to the teacher's ability to use creative and innovative teaching strategies. It is the ability of the teacher to use appropriate resources and technologies, as well as recognizing the learning styles of pupils and adjusting to the learning styles of individuals, pupils or students. And it is also having to do with mother tongue, adjusting the medium of instruction in relation to attaining the objectives of each course or lecture. And it matches the student's real life. So I say 11 countries have identified pedagogy as the basic skill of a Southeast Asian teacher. So we have further identified these types of skills. It is related to selecting measurable objectives, using creative strategies in teaching, using appropriate teaching resources, giving concrete, concise direction for students when they do their work or group work or teamwork. It is related to explaining concepts, terms, vocabulary, motivating kids at the start of the class, and providing guided practice. And finally, providing accurate information. So in the first 3 activities or skills, all countries have stated that, and the other countries have not indicated the 3. So the details of this is in the full report. Second important skill of a Southeast Asian teacher is related to assessing the learners. So we say, what is this learner assessment? Actually, as a teacher, we only prepare for our lessons, but we also have in mind, at the end of the class, we should be able to identify whether the students learn or not. So we do appropriate assessment. According to the Southeast Asian experts, this is an important attribute of a teacher. The skill of a teacher to assess learners' performance can actually dictate the instructional strategies to be adopted. Slow learners, middle or average, or highly intelligent kids, they have different teaching strategies and assessment. And what are the assessment skills of teachers? So we say checking students' understanding by asking comprehensive questions, measuring students' progress, not just on the test, but it's like a portfolio on how the kids are learning. It's providing feedback, positive or something that will inspire students to learn better or learn more, and using assessment result to determine if teaching objectives are met. So by and large, these are the ideas of the experts when it comes to learners' assessment skills. The third skill that emerged is classroom management. So we say, oh, Southeast Asian teachers also look at how classroom is being managed. And what skills do we expect from Southeast Asian teachers? So one is beginning instruction on time. That's identified. Effectively managing students' behavior in class to facilitate learning. Establishing students' participation. For those who are very shy, try to tap them or ask them appropriate question. Establishing and maintaining timelines, projects, completion, assignments, demonstrating respect for other students. I did not expect that this will come out as part of the classroom management skill, that teacher expected to see that every kid will respect each other in the class. And maintaining physical environment, that's something we ask always, to start with a very nice classroom, well fixed, and communicate clearly and coherently policies in the classroom. So some teachers would have guide for classroom, who will start the prayer, who will clean the class after, and then some other assignments or functions, or electing a class officer for that matter. So, three major skills of Southeast Asian teachers: pedagogical, assessment, and third is classroom management skills. So that emerged in our study. And further, in the discussions in the modified Delphi technique, I realized that the region prioritized personal competencies, ethics, and morals of teachers. In my work with other countries of the region, I have worked with Brunei Darussalam in identifying the early childhood teaching quality standards, and with Laos, PDR, in identifying the teaching standards. Both countries have prioritized and identified ethics and moral values as number one in the competencies of teachers. So maybe for Brunei Darussalam, it's more related to Islamic moral values, and for Laos, it's actually ethical and moral values that they rank as number one. I remember that. So this personal competency and ethics and moral actually results to beneficial classroom climate, creating an environment of safety, an environment of trust. And it is very important to promote spirit of cooperation and friendly competition. Second, that was identified but did not rank high, but very important in our region, is the social and interpersonal skills of teachers. So with that, teachers are expected to be the role model. So that's why it's very hard to be a teacher. You have to possess good values all the time, and not to lose your temper, and not to lose yourself in some instances. We are expected to respect elders, to share and cooperate with our co-teachers, to respect our bosses. And teachers are also expected to lead and take part in community-sponsored activities. So this I see as, oh, teachers are not just for classroom. Teachers in Southeast Asia are expected to take part in community activities. How many of you here have involvement in your community? Can you raise your hand, teachers? Or you are not involved? How many have community involvement? Community. So many of you are involved. Yeah. So officers, or whenever there is an important occasion in your town, As a teacher, you are always tapped to help. Am I right? Yeah, they always call on the teachers. And even if you retire, they are expecting you, the mayor, the local government is expecting you to help in the education of the city or community because you are a teacher. So these are the two other competencies that emerge in our study: ethical and moral values, social and interpersonal skills, aside from pedagogical assessment, and of course, the last one that I have mentioned, and classroom management. Let's go to the teaching competency standards documented in each country. So maybe you're asking, like the experts that I have worked with, is there any teaching competency standards in my country? We have policies, but I don't know if this is the teaching competency standards. All of us face that same question during our dialogue, meeting, and workshop. So, we agreed that we will adopt standards that are actually embedded in a national legislation, in a law, or policy directive from the Ministry of Education, or those that are written in the handbook, guidelines, orders, and manuals. So the experts from 11 member countries brought with them all these documents during our teaching competency standards workshop, and those that are still under process or public hearing. So let me share in advance what my colleagues probably will be sharing. In Brunei, Jerusalem, they have shared that the competencies of teachers are in three aspects. One is professional knowledge, which refers to subject matter specialization. Two is professional practice. Three is professional engagement and values. In Cambodia, the time they shared knowledge, practice, learning, and ethics. So there are subdomains, but I will not have time to share with you all of them, but the country reports will share with you. Indonesia shared that they have professional competence, personal competence, pedagogical competence, and social competence. And Lao PDR, professional ethics, knowledge and comprehension, subject knowledge, and practical teaching wisdom. Next, for Malaysia, the time the experts said that they're in the process of finalizing their teaching standards, but have shared that majority for Malaysia focus on professional teaching values, knowledge and comprehension, teaching and learning skills. For the Philippines, we base it on the National Competency Standards for Teachers, or what we call as NCBTS, which has, we have the most number of competencies. One, social regard for learning, learning environment, diversity of learners, curriculum, planning, assessing and reporting, community linkages, personal growth, and professional development. In the Philippine NCBTS, there are so many subdomains, over 100, and you are rated in that 100 indicators, and that if you have any gap in those competencies, it is called TEACHER, Teacher Strengths and Needs Assessment, and you will be trained on your gaps. Singapore shared at the time, cultivating knowledge, winning hearts and minds, knowing oneself and others, and working with others. And for other countries, let's go back to Thailand. The time they shared professional competence, knowledge, experience, personal competence. Timor-Leste prioritize competency in language. They have Tetum, Portuguese, technical knowledge in teaching and learning, or that's related to pedagogy again, and professionalism as a teacher. And in Vietnam, knowledge, teaching competence, presentation competence, classroom management, and personal competence. So if we look at this, we have identified that in our region, we have similarities in terms of teaching competency standards. All of these have subdomains, and there are many. So, if we summarize teaching competency standards, strands, and domains in Southeast Asia, it refers to one, personal characteristics of the teachers. There are many standards to be followed. Professional knowledge, professional development, ethical standards, and professional skills. These we refer to as the teaching competency standards identified during the time. Remember the time we have not focused on ASEAN integration and the end of education for all. So we refer to teaching standards as one, mastery of content and subject matter, mastery of pedagogy, having positive personal traits like being responsible, being punctual. We have professional and personal ethical standards and values, having a sound ethical standards and morality, and professional development, attending to lifelong learning training programs. So these 5 are the identified common standards in Southeast Asia. And after our research on that, there is a response of CMAO Inutech to develop the competency standards framework in Southeast Asia, which was adopted in 2012. And it was offered as a course through online, open, and distance education. And many of you have participated in that. And Vietnam, Cambodia helped in pilot testing this competency framework for Southeast Asian teachers, as well as Thailand sent lots of teachers to study under the teaching competency standards in Southeast Asia. So there are many subdomains, and it can be shared with you if you ask me or you visit our website at cmao-inutech.org. So with that competencies, we have embarked further on identifying guro, or teacher 21, or teachers of the 21st century. We realize that these are the competencies, but how do we use these competencies to align our educational system and teaching with the 21st century requirements or ASEAN integration? We have adopted many measures. Philippines, maybe even Thailand, adopted even a change in school calendar. Okay? We are adjusting our own calendars, requirements for teacher. In our region, I think there are only 3 countries which require license for teachers. And if we move across borders, you should be knowledgeable whether you have a requirement for teaching license or none. Philippines require teaching license. Thailand require teaching license. Indonesia require teaching license. How do we promote movement of teachers across the region if licensing restrict actually the movement of ASEAN teachers by 2015? So these are the challenges in the 21st century. And dear, we have already a different type of students at this time. Our students are 21st century learners. They use iPads, they use games in your classes, and you cannot keep them listening attentively to you. They have changed a lot. And even our teaching learning situations have to be adjusted to offer a more creative and innovative teaching learning style. We need to develop in our children to become problem solvers and critical thinkers. We need to give them multiliteracy. So in our CPLM that was mentioned, Southeast Asian Primary Learning Metrics, we identified the 3 literacies that will be measured: literacy, numeracy, and global citizenship. So what drives these changes in the development of an adjusted 21st century teaching competency standards? We have the ASEAN 2015 integration. We have the pressure on university ranking, quality assurance, and the different education reform. So with the data that we have developed on teaching competency standards, we are actually updating it to make it Guru 21 or teaching competency standards for the 21st century. So in that 21st century teaching standards, we have integrated even the development of core subjects with 21st century themes, learning and innovation skills. So teachers should not be just using the traditional pedagogies. They should be well-informed on ICT-assisted teaching and learning technologies or strategies, how teachers can actually maximize information, media, and technology to be able to promote better learning outcomes and also life and career skills. In the region, the secondary education is actually espousing different career tracks. So you have tech-voc tracks, academic tracks, or science, technology, engineering. How do we prepare our teachers to have this life and career orientation and competencies and certification? So we were trained in the period when there was no specialization or different tracks of secondary whatsoever. So how can we teach in the tech-voc secondary? How do we teach in science technology track? We were not in that age. So now this is a big challenge, especially to my country, which will just start the specialization track by 2016. We have adopted under the CPLM, Southeast Asian Primary Learning Metrics framework for 21st century learners. And in that, we have seen that learning went beyond the literacy and numeracy skills. There are other competencies in the 21st century, such as ICT, life and career skills that I have mentioned. And this is actually the one we are trying to develop for Southeast Asia at this time. This is at the development stage, and there will be a meeting come November to identify all the 21st century skills that will be tested in our region. So all of this will be discussed and elaborated by experts in the meeting after the Simeo Congress launching of CPLM, and second is the November meeting in Penang, Malaysia. And also, we should give the teachers new training schemes for utilizing the 21st century materials using virtual field trips, KeyPulse or ePulse, Kuriki, Wiki, and other blogs in their teaching. So we can have a whole session on the 21st century teaching and learning technologies. Moving forward, Teacher Education Council of Thailand, Teacher Education Council of the Philippines, teacher education institutions should look at the current situation and even beyond. What is ASEAN 2015 integration? What will be the role of this integration in developing the new competencies for teachers? There are new ways of teaching, there are new ways of thinking, there are new ways of learning in the 21st century. And the enormous challenges should be faced right now. Let us not delay, because Dr. Guangzhou said that teaching and learning should be quality, and it should be for all, not just for those in the academic track, which is very advanced. So curriculum, teacher training, assessment will all change, having these drivers in the 21st century. And let me tell you that when we ended our study on teaching competency standards, I realized that half of the countries in the region have policies, orders that will say it is the teaching standards in my country, but the other countries are still in the process of developing their teaching standards. So we cannot say that 100% with teaching standards in one document. No, it is found in several memorandum, policy, and laws that we can actually count on to be called as the teaching competency standards. It is actually very difficult if we move forward how to assess the teacher's competencies. because in the region we have different ways of assessing teachers, and it can be in another session, assessment of teachers in the 21st century. And if you want a copy of the book, it's available at www.simeo-inotech.org, or you can email me, ethel@simeo-inotech.org. And I thank you so much for listening. Kapun ka.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ethel, for that very interesting perspective of the teaching competency standards all over Southeast Asia. It is very fruitful and it has consolidated all the information that are necessary, particularly when we want to move towards becoming ASEAN community นะคะโดยเฉพาะที่เราจะมุ่งสู่การเข้าสู่ประชาคมอาเซียนในปีหน้านะคะมาตรฐานวิชาชีพครูหรือว่ามาตรฐานคุณสมบัติของคุณครูในประเทศในเอเชียตะวันออกเฉียงใต้นะคะก็เป็นที่น่าติดตามแล้วก็ดูว่ามีการพัฒนาไปอย่างไรบ้างถ้าสนใจนะคะไปที่เว็บไซต์ของ CMEO ได้ If you're interested in getting information please go visit the CMEO website www.cmeo.org นะคะ From there you can link to CMEO Innotech and we will provide Dr. Ethel presentation and also the book that she has published there as well. Okay. So you have listening to the perspective of the region. Okay. Global, Dr. Kwangjo Kim has presented the global picture. Regional level, Dr. Ethel has presented the regional level. Now we narrow down to the perspective of the national level in Thailand with the perspective of the region as well. Okay. Our next speaker is one of the key educator and very well respected in the education community in Thailand. He is the former dean of the Faculty of Education at Chulalongkorn University. He is currently the vice president of Thurakit Bandit University and also the acting dean of the College of Education at Thurakit Bandit University. He also holds the position as the president of the Teacher Council of Thailand, who advise how our teacher can move towards to becoming a quality teacher in Thailand. Okay? Today he will give a presentation on teaching profession in ASEAN with the perspective or the view of his over 30 years of experience in education in Thailand. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Professor Dr. Paitud Sinlarat. Yes.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, for Thai people, I'm sorry. ผมเป็นตะคริวนิดหน่อย For my presentation, I would like to talk about the status of teaching profession. Generally, I would like to speak about the Asian perspective, but mainly the example will be in Thai. But I think the situation of teaching profession in ASEAN is not much different. Some may occur in Thailand and some may occur in your country too. For my presentation, I would like to talk about 5 topics. The first one is concerning image of teaching profession in ASEAN. The second one concerning problem in teaching profession. The third one, because of that problem, how can we change? I call it gigantic change. You may agree with me or not. Later you will have the comment. Huh? But I think it's a big change now. How can we have a change? I call it a big change in teaching profession. And the fourth one, after I comment it, I should have present some kind of case study to find a way out. The last one, I would like to have some conclusion. First one, I would like to talk about the image of teaching profession in ASEAN. Please you look to the 7th one, and after that you may comment it later. First one, I think nowadays, many people think we are is a soft profession. A soft profession compared to a strong profession like medical science, engineer and accountancy. We are in a soft profession. The second one, many people think we are a conservative profession. And theory profession, imitation profession, and speaking profession, silent profession, and powerless profession nowadays. Let me go a little bit about this idea. What is soft profession? In many countries, including in Thailand too, learning to be a teacher is a little bit very easy. Easy to enter in the university, easy to learn, and easy to graduate. And when we graduate, it's easy to work in the school. So this is a kind of problem that we have to think. If we are in the easy profession, then the status of teacher is not so high. How can we move it to be a strong profession? That's very important for my idea. The main image of the teaching profession in ASEAN is a soft profession. Student and teacher are quite soft, easy to enter teacher education institution. Teacher easy to study and easy to graduate. Teaching is done by the imitation of the Westerner. We are generally we receive a Western idea, and then we imitate them, and we follow them without much adaptation. Like nowadays we talk about the 21st century, then we copy them, 21st century. Backward design was very popular one, and then we imitate them. Flip classroom. Then in ASEAN, many countries try to flip the classroom too. This is a kind of imitation, and I think they call us a theoretical profession. Speaking profession and silent profession, you may think it's about different one. So by speaking and silent, the teacher in ASEAN, I'm not sure in your country, I think you have some. Teacher like to speak in the class, but silent in the society. You will see, not many teachers talk or speak aloud in the society, but in the classroom they talk and talk. They talk all the time. So that I call speaking profession and silent profession. And nowadays, I think, you may agree with me or not, we are in a powerless profession. Powerless profession, what does it mean? In the past, the teacher has much powerful in the society, in the up country. When teacher say something, people listen to them. And students also listen to the teacher. But nowadays, what do you think? You think they listen to you? I think no. They listen to Google, YouTube. They don't follow you. They don't believe you anymore. They believe in Google and YouTube. This is the big problem that I think if our profession has an image like this, so what do you think? I think if we still have this image, our profession is still not popular and not valuable. Why? Why we have a perspective like that? I would like to exchange idea with you. For me, I think 7 problems is very, very, very critical. The first one is that smart people do not become teacher. Good student, very high achiever student, they don't want to become a teacher. From my experiences, about 30 years ago in Thailand, we in the College of Education, we received mainly for the second class student, sometimes third class or fourth class. And as I know, some paper that you mentioned, in some country, I don't want to mention, but many countries have this problem too. Good people, they don't want to be a teacher. How can you raise your profession with a low grade student? It's impossible. Teacher education institution is not strong. College of education and school of education around the world. I have read a paper in the United States in some Asian country. School of education is a second class school. The first class might be medical science, engineer, something like that. If the school of education or faculty of education still a second class, something like this, how can you produce a good class, a first class people for the society? I think this is not the problem of the school of education. It's a problem of the society. The society has to take care of this. How come you let the school of education to be a second class institution? So we should, what do I say? We should complain to the society, not should complain to the school of education. The first one, quality control or quality standard of the teacher are still very weak. We have very good professional standard, like the one that Innotech presented to us this morning. It's a very good one. But for me, it seems to me that it is only a minimum standard. I think we need a quality standard, a maximum standard. The standard that we set should be a maximum one. If we set it a maximum one, it means we encourage our people to try to make a people to be very, very best student, very best teacher in our profession. Teacher work has boring characteristic. It means the work situation and the workload in the university nowadays, in the school, it's not interesting enough to attract the promising young student. So I think we have to change our learning environment in the school. And many countries and many in Thailand, when we reform education, we reform at the highest level, like we reform the structure of the school, the ministry, we reform the position for the high ranking, but we don't reform the classroom environment. So the situation in the classroom is the same. How can you change or reform education without reform the classroom? So the success is not possible. The fifth one, mass authoritarianism is in the school. Many schools in our region, if you have time, you read the book about schooling in East Asia. And you will understand that the situation in school is still more on power-oriented. It doesn't give a liberty or a trust in teacher enough. So teacher should be obey and listen to the authority all the time. How can you produce a very progressive student, very creative student, very Christian student within the what do I say, authoritarian classroom, something like that. The thing one is there are not many research in the education institution. How can you produce a good education without research? The example of Finland, Singapore, like my friend, China, Japan, Korea. In this college of education and in school too, the professor and the teacher, they conduct many research. In Malaysia too, as I know, a lot of research on education. So if we don't produce or conduct many research, or a lot of research, so the education that we are going to do is not good enough. The last one, teaching profession is an ideal profession, is devotion profession. So if we would like to raise our profession, we have to move our profession to be a devoted profession. This is a big problem that I think we have to think and try to change. How can we change? I call it gigantic change because I think it's very difficult to change. And today we will learn from our friend in many countries. I have read all of the paper. There are many good examples, like Singapore, Malaysia, Brunei, Indonesia, Philippines. We have some good in some point, so we can learn some from our country, from our region. First one, if we would like to raise our status of our profession, the first one, we have to remove the useless people. Not good, let them out. Maybe including me. So if I finish my presentation, I cannot go to my college. They will kick me out. But I would like to present as extreme one, to let you think. You will agree with me or not, it's not necessary, but you have to think. It's a time for the people in our profession to think about our profession very seriously, very seriously. The second one, we have to move our teacher education institution. This organization must be first-class institution, must be first-class school. How can we do this? Teacher must be what they want students to be. This means if you would like to teach a student to be a good critical person, you have to have the technique, right? You have to have the method. But the teacher, when they learn in the school of education, usually they listen to the professor. The professor tells them that if you would like them to be a critical thinker, you do this, do this, do this. But they don't show how to do it. They just say this, and you follow my word, don't follow my act. This is not a good profession. So how can you do? We have to move our school of education to be like a school that we want. What does it mean? It means if you want a teacher to teach critical thinking, you have to teach critical thinking atmosphere in the college of education. Then the student, they can understand, they can touch, and they can do. And when they go to the school, they can do what they have and experiences. This is very important. So then I said that teacher must be what they want students to be. Teacher should be the same as they study. The first one, give up on lecturing class. Not more than lecture again in the college of education. Keep up, take them all. Why? Because lecturing is good, but it's not at the present time. When you lecture, the teacher is very good in listening, right? Listening. Just listening and memorization and then take noting. But in the future, we want our students not only memorization, we want them to be creative, innovative, productive, problem solving, think for the future. Lecturing cannot promote cannot help them to be like this. So abolish the lecture. The sixth one, what happened? I need help. Okay. The sixth one, set high standard of teaching profession. Our standard for teaching profession should be set it very high. Try to make a maximization of the standard. It means the quality standard. Standard set the tone that we have to move to, not just only this one. Many standards that we set is only, okay, we have this one, it's not enough. But we have to move to the best one. The sixth one, continuously do research and developing innovation. And the last one, reviving teacher spirit. At least I think there are many changes that we should have to do, but at least seven one is at the basic minimum that we should do. That is my opinion. Okay, then I come to the last point. I have mentioned discussion and comment and criticize very many things. So if I don't say something about the recommendation or the suggestion, you will call me that, oh, you are very bad one. So I try. The first one, the problem is that how can we get a good student in our profession? Many good examples. Singapore is very good, Malaysia, also Vietnam, also Philippines. You have many kind of activity to get the good student in our profession. So I just would like to talk about the case in Thailand. We call it KHURUSAPHA project, KHURUSAPHA. KHURUSAPHA, what is KHURUSAPHA? KHURUSAPHA is how to select smart people to study teacher education. Okay, I will talk about it later. The second one, concerning the teacher education institution, how can we do? We should select or admit only a PhD to work or to teach in the College of Education. You may think, how can we sure that a PhD graduate is good enough? I don't think that. Some PhD candidate is very, very bad one. But at least, you get a PhD, and when they come to your college, you have to force them to do something else more than just teaching. I think this kind of doing, we can learn from Singapore and Malay. And also in Thailand, some university, they have a kind of recruitment, what should I say? Recruitment rule that only PhD student can be a professor or teaching in the university. But I think that's not enough. I will say it later. The third one, as I say, faculty of education, school of education, or institute of teacher education, many of them, they have a lot of students in their school. So they provide them, they put the student, maybe some class more than 100, some class 200. Student, 100 class, 100 students in one class. How can you teach? You just lecture. And after lecturing, you fulfill your duty. Oh, I am finished. I give you only finished already. But how can you know that the student learn from your lecture? They may be play a game, they play the line, or they play the something like that. They don't listen to you, but they sit in your class. So, in Thailand nowadays, under the promulgation of the KHURUSAPHA, of the Thailand Teacher Council, we set the criteria that nowadays, the faculty of education, the school of education, you have to set one class, not more than 30 students. Not more than 30 students. Why? Because if you have only 25 or 30 students, you have a chance to conduct a class in a progressive or active learning. But if you put 100 in your class, you cannot do. So the first choice is that you put students in a class not more than 30 students. A small class for teacher to practice their profession. The first one, we call it open the student mouth and close the teacher mouth. Open the student mouth, close the teacher mouth. This word I took it from my friend from Thurakit Bandit University. Why? Because we are speaking profession. Teacher talk. In the class, and sometimes when they go back home, they talk to to their husband or their wives. So try to open the student mouth and close the teacher. Give up lecture. The fifth one, set a high hope. It means standard criteria for the quality of teaching profession. The sixth one, Tom Yam Kung model. You may a little bit advertising, what is Tom Yam Kung model? I will talk it later. It means research. It should be in accordance with the social context. The last one, pay no attention even to the minister. Pay no attention even to the minister, except the one who came this morning. It's good for me. He only went out already. A Thai fail. Don't tell him. Immensely devoted to the student. This, the thing that I have thinking about, how to solve the problem that I raised. KHURUSAPHA project. I think Professor Dilek will talk more when he talk about the Thai situation. KHURUSAPHA project, it means we in Thailand, we recruit a high achiever student to be in the College of Education and to be a teacher. We guarantee the job. It's a kind of scholarship and funding. We guarantee the job. We have done this for 4 or 5 years. The result is very good. A good student, good grad student come to College of Education. And nowadays, this group, they work very well. They have high position. They are good teacher. But after 5 years, the government don't do it anymore. After that, about 4 or 5 years, we have again, we call it ครูพันธุ์ใหม่ ครูพันธุ์ใหม่ it means new ครูพันธุ์ใหม่ new อะไร new what New generation of teacher. The government plan to do it 5 years. They start 1 year first. Then they said, okay, only 2 years. Finally, they do only 1 year. After that, we have again another project. So we do this and finish, do this, finish. If we do like this, we cannot change our profession. But I think it's very good if we provide them scholarship and funding, guarantee the job. Sometimes many people think we have to pay him a lot. That is also important. But for Thailand, I'm not sure about your country, guarantee the job is very important too. And I know, I think in Malaysia you have the scholarship. Singapore, I have read a paper 10 years ago. You have this problem. And 10 years ago, you have many scholarships. President scholarship, something like that. After 10 years, Singapore is very successful in recruitment of good students. The second one, choose only PhD teacher. We try to raise a high quality school of education. I think after I read a paper, Singapore and Malaysia is very good model. They try to recruit only PhD graduate. When they come to the school of education, they have to produce, conduct a research, write a book, present a paper. Let them work very hard. Don't let them very easy. Oh, I'm very easy, sabai. A friend from Singapore can talk in this afternoon. But one thing that I would like to mention, good students, good people, they usually require a lot. They make much demanding. Good people make demanding. So smart people should come with being good. Being smart and being good should come together. The third one, not more than 30 students, that I have already talked. If in your class you don't have students more than 30, you can conduct a kind of activity, active or progressive education. Then the students, when they finish your class, they go to the school, they know how to do, because they have only learned. Open student mouth and close the teacher. This I would like to show you about CCPR model. CCPR model, what does it mean? It means we have to think in terms of new characteristic of the student. In the past, we think about student just only graduate. But in the future, we think our student, both in teacher, student, or student in the school, they have to have a critical mind. The second one, only critical is not enough. They have to have a creative mind too. And for me, creative mind is not enough too. They should have productive mind. It means when you have an idea, you create something, you should translate the idea to be a product. To be a product. If you follow the 21st century skill from the West, they emphasize on productivity, emphasize on something that the student should create. And there's one book, I think you may read it, about the world-class student. Two things that they want the school to do. First, train students to be productive person. It means to produce something. And then take that product to the market. You produce something and then you sell it. This is the major concept of the 21st century skill of the West. But in our country, in our region, we just follow them. We learn from them but we don't follow them. And then the last one is about responsible mind. At least 3 skills, 3 characteristics, CCPR, critical, creative, productive, and responsible. If you want student to be like this, and then you still lecture, you close your student mouth, you open the teacher, you cannot produce student to be CCPR. When you set the CCPR model, you have to teach, follow this model. It means you have to teach by using criticality-based instruction. Criticality-based instruction, it means if you want students to be critical, let them critique all the time. Let them critique all the time. Because only lecture cannot make students very critical. You lecture all the time. You comment, you criticize. For example,